And welcome to another math lesson. We have been spending time learning about more than, less than, and today we're going to go back to focusing on more than and being able to look at a group and deciding which one has more. So our math thinking job today is I can count and compare sets of objects telling which one is more. Notice about my board today. You're right. There is a lot of shapes on it like we had the other day. Let's review the names of the shapes. We have triangles, we have hexagons, we have circles, we have squares. We've been talking about sets that have more than and less than. So today, we're going to be talking about ways to organize our groups of shapes so that it's easier to tell which one has more. Right now, all of our shapes are scattered. So let's look closely at our shapes, and I want you to find all of the circles and count them, all of the triangles and count them, and then decide which has more. Your teacher's going to pause the video. Well, let's go through this scattered, jumbled up group of shapes and count all of the circles. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 circles. Now, let's count the triangles. 1, 2. Which has more, circles or triangles? I see triangles. Before I numbered them, I was able to see that there was a lot more circles than triangles. And I didn't have to count because there's circles all over the place and there's just 2 triangles. I didn't count the circles. I didn't count the circles, but I can see that there are more circles than triangles. Squares and hexagons. Your teacher's going to pause the video. You're going to look around, find all of the squares and all of the hexagons, and decide which has more. But it's really hard to tell which one has more for the hexagon and squares because there's a lot for each of those shapes. You might have gone through and numbered them all, but I want to think of a way, how can I organize my shapes to help me know which one I have more of? I remember in the beginning of the year, we learned all about configurations. And I think if I line all of my shapes up, that will help me know which one I have more of. Do you agree or disagree? Let's try it out. Lined up my hexagons and squares. I can see, what do you notice about my hexagons and squares, the lines? The hexagon line is longer, so maybe there's more hexagons, but I can't really tell. So we need to find out which set has more. So let's use our trick and draw our line to make sure that each hexagon has a square to see which one has more. This hexagon has a square, this hexagon has a square, this hexagon has a square, and this hexagon has a square, and this hexagon has a square, and this hexagon has a square. Now that we've drawn a line from a hexagon to a square, what do you notice now? You probably said there's a square left over, and you're right. I wonder if we could count them to find out which has more. Let's count the hexagons. I'm going to erase my lines so we can count our hexagons and squares. We know just because the hexagon line is longer does not mean that the hexagon is more. We need to go back and count to see which has more. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 6 hexagons. Now let's count the squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 6 and we have 7. What do you notice? Look at the numbers at the end of the line and decide which set of shapes do we have more of. Your teacher's going to pause the video. You probably talked about there are 6 hexagons and 7 squares. 6 hexagons and 7 squares, which means 7 is more than 6. 7 is more than 6. Which is more, 7 or 6? 7. We could fill in our sentence down here. 7 is more than 6. All right, let's try this one. Your teacher's going to pause the video, and you are going to count the circles, count the triangles, and decide which one's more, the set of circles or the set of triangles. First, let's count the circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now let's count the triangles. 1, 2. Which one is more, the circle or the triangle? The circles have more. 7 is more than 2. 7 is more than 2. When we line them up, we can also make sure they're in line and draw our line and notice that these 2 circles and triangles have a match, but the circles keep going because there's more circles. So 7 is more than 2. Let's try this one. Your teacher's going to pause the video. You're going to count the squares, count the circles, and then decide which one is more. Let's count the squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 6 squares. Let's count the circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We learned from the squares and the hexagon and by drawing lines that 7 is more than 6. There are more circles than squares. Let's switch to objects. Your teacher's going to pause the video and you guys are going to count the ladybugs, count the bees, and then decide what number is more. All right, let's count the ladybugs. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 ladybugs. Let's count the bees. 1, 2, 3. Which number is more? Which number is more? 4. 4 is more than 3. We can see that when there's only 3 bees, there's no more bees and the ladybugs keep going. We can count more ladybugs. 4 is more than 3. Let's try this one. Your teacher's going to pause the video and you are going to count the butterflies, count the caterpillars, and decide which number is more. Let's count the butterflies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 butterflies. For this counting path, I'm going to draw a line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 caterpillars. Which number is more, 6 or 7? 7. 7 is more than 6. Notice how the butterflies and caterpillars are not in a straight row, not in a straight line. So it is very important to count each set of objects and then decide which number is more. You're going to continue the work of counting objects, writing numbers, and filling in the blank of blank is more than blank. Until next time, bye, Kipsters.